So I want it for the wrist. So it will be a bone that will be, should this wrist bone be aligned there? Okay, doesn't matter. Let's add a bone here. No, let's create here, and this have here, right? Then this will be the bone. No, le bone. No, this is a joke from another YouTube channel. This is the def. Yeah, it's a helper bone, so could do, but def is more generic for deformed bone, so I think that is fine. For this rig, it will be on the deform rig or the collection. I'll make this into a helper bones collection, and so this is def wrist def fan wrist left. So I'm going to symmetrize right now just to have it. Then the axis, it's Control 3 for me, it's a new shortcut. Then let's align this with the deformed bone, and let's parent it precisely to the deformed bone, keep offset. So the alignment, there will be different ways to make this. So the idea of the fan bone, a simple fan bone for the joint, is for de-rotate the mesh of the joint, because it's the rotation of the mesh which causes skinning algorithm to work, to generate artifacts and destroy the mesh geometry, right? To create the horrid things. So what I need to do here is just to, let's give this helper bone a different color. So maybe for them I'll give some orange, although it, yeah, that's good enough. It doesn't need to be any big, so it can be like that, and maybe I want it to have the same bone length of this. It doesn't need to be a bendy bone, actually it won't, that won't make any difference. Also, let's already create helper bones here. An orange, there's already a color for that. And let's move this, also Shift X and extend. It's annoying, they should improve this, I guess. Alt M, this is my shortcut for move, not copy. So move the bones to helper. Here we can, if we want, isolate. I think I've made a shortcut for that. So there they are. So both have went to the proper thing, but then I get this one. Let's go here, get this bone length, and let's copy it here. So they have the same bone length. This might be bad, but at least is organized. This will symmetrize. Now this is deformed bone, yes. I'm going to wave paint precisely the mesh that is there. The most correct way to do this, I think, would be to have it start out by mimicking the waves of both, but since this is very complicated in Blender, I'll just have it start out mimicking the vertex group of the wrist. So this is simple. Yes, this is a good another one. Let's reset here the timer. I think I've got renewed energy to continue this, so let's make a new highlight here. Gnomes-Light. So basically, if I get here the vertex groups panel, let's try to find the wrist deform group, right? So it's here. So I created this helper bone, which is a fan bone for the wrist. It will de-rotate as the wrist rotates in one direction. So it will de-rotate the mesh of the joint. So I don't need all that precision. I could just wave paint this helper bone where it is. They are very hard to find. So maybe I just, yeah, let's do something simpler here. Come on, just the wrist bone. Yeah, the wrist bone and the control. Okay, the wrist bone. Then let's have here to the bones, they hide but they do not unhide on. Okay, so my bad. So here get this bone, the deformed bone and the wrist bone, the helper bone and the wrist. So here we don't see very well, but what matters is that I could straightly try to wave paint this, and this will already work right away, right? You'll see if I did something like here on the joint, not so much there, but there's some volume lost here, but especially the problem is on the joint around here. And of course I could try to blur, but yeah, something like that. So imagine I did that, or imagine, no, you see that I did that. And so now if I, well, don't see very much results, but if I turn off the deform property of the fan bone now, now it's on, now it's off, now it's on. Yeah, it's not that good, but 90 degrees is a lot. So let's try some, maybe oh, of course, why I'm of course it's doing nothing, because it's not active, right? It's not de-rotating, it's not doing anything. So the easiest way to make this de-rotate is very simple. So this is in Blender, the approach that I found was to just get the fan bone to have a copy rotation towards the wrist, which is already parented to the wrist bone. But then instead of having this, it will just have an all invert stuff on local spaces, and we could even get local on its own, and we don't need to have anything. Yeah, we can be displace. Maybe I'm done. There is a problem here. Yes, so it's not working because it doesn't recognize the transforms of the wrist bone. I remember this problem. This is a big challenge sometimes. Maybe it's because of the parenting. Let's wait, hold on. Local with parent. Yes, so this is the solution because of the parenting, local with parent. So now it de-rotates. No, it's not de-rotating anymore. So what's going on? Replace. Yeah, so you see it is rotating the inverse way, and in the rest position it is aligned with the wrist bone. As I do this, it de-rotates, but the influence is too much, right? So instead I want not that much, I want something. So you see, if it is 0, it's like there's nothing. So here's the deforms. It's with this crude wave painting that I did for the fan bone. If I just give it some small amount of influence of de-rotation, look at the quality, right? So let's say it doesn't need to be any value that seems to be good, right? So this is maximum de-rotation. Of course it could be useful, but this is probably stupid. So we want something that is not that much, is just for to counter the 90 degrees rotation or more sometimes even. So to counter this, it's usually an angle that is formed between the, you see, so the deformed bone has here about 90 degrees, maybe a little less, and then this is derotating by proportionally, right? So if I reset here, why this is happening? Because of some yes, why this is happening? Okay, so this is another something about the bone constraint, I think. Yeah, so probably something I've set up here. This is not good. I need to fix it. It shouldn't happen. Maybe more about the parenting. Yes. So maybe this needs to use the same parent as the deaf wrist. So maybe this can go wrong, but let's see. The deaf wrist is using the parent of the control wrist. So we're gonna copy this control wrist. It ain't need to be that difficult, but in this case of the hand, for some reason there's the relation. So now this, no, it's still happening. So maybe here I can return to local space and local space. You see, now that it's not warping anymore, but I need this to be moving. And we see that again we have problem with the fact that it's not responding to the control. I think this is add before, I think this won't do anything. Yeah, you can see from here. So it's probably again, so target owner local with parent, no, and okay, let's try local with parent. So this will be the same idea, and now it is not warping. Yeah, so it's something about the fact that it was parented to the deaf wrist. Actually, it's still parented to the deaf wrist. So, or isn't it? No, it's not. So we just had to jump its hierarchy just to mimic the deaf wrist bone here. So that it would be simple, right? If I kept it parented to the deaf wrist, which I think would be more organized, but then I wouldn't know how to solve these things. So this is and the replace seems to have an effect in this madness. Okay, but now things are working smoothly, except that I want more de-rotations. So don't worry, this is just one of the, yeah, this is just one simple a bit more complicated case to, usually on the joints here, like the elbow, is much simpler. Alright, and of course the wave painting here that I've made was horrible, So let's actually bring back here. Let's do the technique that I was going to mention about the wave painting of this. So I'm going to delete this. Instead of doing something random, I'm gonna be very precise. So I'm gonna duplicate this vertex group, def wrist left, duplicated vertex group, and I'm gonna call this with the name of, well, this I delete too, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna call this the, yes, just delete this. So now it no, this is wrong. Did I accidentally, oh yeah, because it's a copy, sorry folks. This I delete. I've lost the name, so it's like, I think it's def fan wrist left, and I can delete that. Now it works. There it is. So what this fan bone has got is got the exact same waves of the wrist, so it's competing with this. I don't want that, but I wanted to have this starting condition of waves so that I can reduce whichever waves from here, carefully of course, so that I will play with exactly the same waves that it started with. Of course, we can achieve this equalness. You see, all this I haven't touched, so it's exactly the same. It's mimicking the wrist, except from what I've deleted this there, and maybe I can blur some things here and here just on this edge, on these areas. And here maybe I can blur this more, and here too, exactly on the joint. So all these vertices were, so either the fan bone has lost waves on vertex groups that ratio, right, influence that it would have, but now it doesn't have anymore, or it has been reduced. Augmenting, of course, we could augment, especially on the joint, but I went from a subtractive fashion, and so unfortunately it didn't merge the wave with the wrist to find some sort of intersection ratios, right? That would be ideal. There might be some method with that, with some, but that will be too specific, right? I think some vertex wave mix or edit could do something like that. Not sure, but here now what I have is that the fan bone, yeah, it is not perfect. This looks very good for this amount of rotation of the, even that, right? So it seems sort of reliable, right? And if I didn't have the bendy bone, if I hadn't, then, well, still works. Okay, never mind. But it seems to, and here we got some, well, I have the bendy bone on the wrist, right? So I'm combining already some technique, helper bones technique, right? The wrist has some, right? And something strange about the forearm, sorry, the forearm bone has some, so the in this case, this, maybe I need to improve the de-rotation amount, maybe. So let's try to do this. So I can always, yes, this seems to help, but then I need to see the inverse thing, and also the side one. So this one doesn't look very nice, despite. So maybe here augmenting even more the derotation is not gonna be very good. Actually, this is augmenting the derotation, so actually this is sort of beneficial. And this seems accurate, so we can also check here the rotations on the local Z. Yeah, doesn't sound, you see the fan bone derotates accordingly. It's not totally clear if this derotation is good for this case, but doesn't seem to be compromising. So in this case, because there is this bendy bone working, right? So maybe this is doing most of the job, right? And there's just one thing that I